was the mission of the book from your perspective?
So I think there are lots of things that I think about with regard to that. But I think for me, human ingenuity is one of the most ignored faculties in terms of just what's valuable to us in life. Mm-hmm. And I believe that every human being has an ingenuity. I believe that education can foster that or it can block that. Mm-hmm. And I don't just say this in order to be inspirational. You know, the sort of flagship idea I like to associate with this is the one laptop per child project, where this group of people took laptops and dumped it in rural Ethiopia and thought, what will the kids do? They've never seen any technology before.
Right.
Will they eat it? Will they sit on it? Like, you know, what are they going to do with these things, these objects? Well, what they found was that within a few hours, they had found the on-off button. Within a few days, they were singing ABC songs. And within a few months, they had a hacked Android. No computer science.
They hacked Android.
No computer science degree, no instruction manual. You see, if you have the permission to be curious in the world, you don't need an instruction manual. You don't need, like when I think about my education, I'm very grateful for it on many levels, but I also know that I think I needed it to tame my mind in that way. But there are many people in the world who don't access their minds because they somehow think education is something that can fill them. But education simply steers your ingenuity. And one of the points I wanted to make with this book is if we just stopped relying on accolades, and I honestly feel like I've had this conscious thought when I was accumulating my accolades, that one day I'm going to diss accolades and no one's going to say it's because you didn't get them.
Yes, yes. You have a different, people view you differently when you achieve.
Right. And so I thought that's great. I have all these accolades. You know, I was a top student in medical school, I had the most awards in my residency, and I don't think that really means anything. Like, I think that human ingenuity is what we need to unleash in the world. And I don't care what you're doing. You know, I don't care whether you're behind a counter selling candy, whether you're sweeping streets, whether you're, you know, wanting to make it in the movie business, whether you're, you know, working for a corporation, working as a consultant, being a doctor. All these things are categories. And I think at my core, I really reject that idea. Like, I'm not somebody who wants to distress someone else by floating in an abyss. And I wrote, so you asked me what was one of the core motivations and what would I think? I would think that if a significant number of people could actually access their core ingenuity, if a significant number of people could change the way they think about themselves and their potential, I honestly believe, people talk about energy waste, and they talk about lights and all kinds of things. I think the biggest energy waste is the human brain electrical energy. Mm-hmm. And I think we waste it because we don't tap into it. And this book is really about the fact that we need to spend more time searching inside for the answers that we're looking for in the world. Mm-hmm. And so I think if you ask me, you know, what's my most crazy idea about this book, I would like to connect this book to measuring the impact of brain electrical energy when it is accessed through tinkering, dabbling, doodling, and trying, and then taking that actual energy, when people connect with their ingenuity, this is sort of a way out thought, but I think that we should collect that energy and start fueling cars. Like, I think I think that there's, you know, it's electrical impulse. Like, thought is simply electrical, it's energy. So there's no reason we shouldn't be able to tap into the brain, take that energy. I mean, I'm curious about it. What would love energy do in a fuel tank? You know, and what if we could,
you know the snowflake experiment about
I know of it. Yeah.
We talked about what you want the world to learn from it. Tell me what you've learned by writing it.
I've been fortunate because the book's been translated into a number of different languages. So it's in the US, in US English. It's in the UK, in UK English, which is actually quite different.
Yes.
It's in the Netherlands as Minder Focus, Meer Effect, which is less focus, greater effect. I like the Italian title, which is Il potere del cazzeggio, which means The Power of Effing Around.
The Power of Effing Around. I like it.
And it's going to be in Japan, in China, in the Ukraine. What's interesting to me is that every country has taken a slightly different slant on the basic message. So the marketing message in the US, general population, was, take a break, you deserve it.
An intentional break. Don't
Right.
see it as a negative
Negative.
thing.
And I think that is a big message of the book.
In America?
Yeah.
I think it's revolutionary.
So I think the thing that was surprising to me, to answer your question, was that different cultures can have such a different take on the same book. And I think that the book can be about taking a break, or it can be what I think I wanted it to be, which is a way of connecting with your psychological center of gravity, which is your mental six-pack. So in the same way that you need to have a strong core if you're lifting weights, if you're going to approach the problems of life, you need to have a mental six-pack that is strong. And in the book, I feel there's an outline of a number of processes that will actually strengthen that mental six-pack. And I think that as, especially in the last two chapters, where I think I had a little bit more license to say what I wanted to say, what I wanted to say was that there is an experience of intelligence that exists outside of conscious thought that we are ignoring and we should not. When you ask Einstein how he discovered the theory of relativity, he says it was a musical perception. The only reason I've discovered this was because of music. When you ask anybody, like if you ask Steve Jobs about how he thought about planning in life, he said, you cannot connect the dots moving forward. You've got to trust in something, fate, gut instinct, karma, whatever.
Well, he was a spiritual, albeit unusual, he had a spiritual center to him.
Carrie Banks Mullis, who discovered a way of making tons of DNA. The way he discovered this was he was driving around a mountain with his girlfriend sleeping in the car next to him, had a couple glasses of wine, suddenly saw images of blue and pink images. None of these things are immediate, literal, rational thought. And I think what people don't realize is something that a chief digital officer of an organization said to me the other day. I was sitting next to him and I said to him, what is the primary mindset orientation that informs your work as the chief digital officer? And he said, logic. And I said, I don't believe you. And he said, what do you mean? I said, I heard you the whole evening. In fact, I've been dying to talk to you because I could feel your creativity. I think your mode of operating in the world is to open yourself to your unconscious through a nonlinear means so as to receive realizations after which you will communicate them logically. And the world is misled because people think that if you follow someone's recipe, you'll get to where you need to get to, not realizing that recipe comes from a place of realization and that the unconscious, nonlinear, sort of unfocused mind is where these realizations are born. I mean, how many business plans are there? There's so many business plans. Most businesses fail.
Yes.
How many how-tos? There are two things. There's simple cognition, how to get to the store, how to build this cabinet, that works. How to be happier, how to make more money, how to have more engaging relationships. That stuff is complex cognition. And to do that, you have to relinquish your reliance on pure logical thought. And so I've become a skeptic about logic. Not logic per se, but logic that is derived from realizations, I believe. And what I want the book, I think for me, the greatest impact has been even teaching myself to let go of some of my linear ways. I think part of my relationship with you is I've decided that I sense something in you as a human being. Mm-hmm. I don't think you say a lot about what you know, but you communicate a lot about what you know. Mm. So even in speaking with you, even in this interview, I feel like I'm not just connected to what you're saying, I'm connected to who you are.